Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube channel and podcast. And we are back with yet another match preview, which are coming thick and fast at the moment. It feels like we are non-stop on this channel. But yeah, we're back with another one. It is myself, Kris, hosting in Scott's absence today, joined by Daryl and Iain, who both, like I said, both join us for this match preview versus Bournemouth. Boys, do you know what it is? I'm just going to dive straight in because do you know what it is? We've got lots to talk about, mainly injury news. But before we do that, a word from our very own sponsors.
The GallowgateShots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamelled pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com.
Thanks for that, Scott. So, I'm starting with you, Daryl. It's going to be a battered and bruised Newcastle United that make the way down to the south coast. Let's just start with the starting lineup. I know this is normally addressed later on, but I think this is going to be the main talking point right now. The injury list from Newcastle United's point of view, it's ever growing. It's never, ever ending by the looks of it, Daryl. And that's obviously to add suspensions on top. I just want to highlight, okay, for those that don't know, I want to highlight the suspensions and injuries that we currently have. So, who's counting this? I'll let you count this one, Daryl. So, we've got Sandro Tonali, we've got Jacob Murphy, Dan Burn, Harvey Barnes, Elliot Anderson, Sven Botman, Bruno Gomes suspended, Isaac, Callum Wilson, potentially, Manquillo, and Matt Target.
I've run out of fingers.
We've hit double figures there, haven't we? So
absolutely.
What's Eddie Howe going to do?
To be honest, I wish I could say. I think we can probably have a good guess of what he might try and do, but it's going to be a tough decision for him to make. I don't think he'll want to tweak his system, so that rules out certain, positional players and certain changes that he could make. He sort of gambled with the squad a little bit during midweek, and he didn't start the likes of your Gordons and your Almirons out in Dortmund. So I think he's probably looking to be starting them on Saturday tea time. I think the back five, and I include Nick Pope as that back five, picks itself pretty much. So you'll be looking at like a Pope, maybe a Tino Livramento at right back, Lascelles, Shea, and Trippier playing on the left-hand side. We saw a lot of that in the second half against Dortmund. I think, unfortunately, at the moment, that's our option. Lewis Hall could come in and play left back, but in terms of experience, it's probably going to be Trippier. Midfield is the interesting one. I don't want to tread on too many toes, but I'll quickly go through what I think he'll do. And he'll probably go with Joe Linton, Longstaff, and Joe Willock. And then up front, it'll be, if he's fit, and God pray that he is, Callum Wilson flanked by Almiron and Gordon.
Yeah, I think I'm in agree with most of those. Iain, coming over to you there. I think we can kind of put this one as a blessing in disguise that it is Bournemouth coming up. And I'm not taking anything away from Bournemouth, but let's be honest, lads, they're 18th in the Premier League with just 2 wins under the belt this season. Grand total of 6 points so far. It's like I said, it's a blessing in disguise, Ian, that this injury crisis has come at this time. Obviously, we've got the international break after this one, gives us a little bit of time for the lads to basically just get back to fitness and those injuries which are borderline at the moment coming back into the squad. But yeah, would you make any changes from what Daryl said? Would you possibly rest any players? I know obviously we've got a bit of a luxury there now in your full-back positions.
I think what Daryl said is pretty much spot on. The only concern is if Wilson isn't fit, you'd probably look at Gordon going through the middle again, which would then open up the left-hand side, because I don't even think we've got many players. You'd possibly look at Hall playing on the left. So I don't even think we've got midfielders that could play, unless you're calling in the likes of Lewis Miley. I think without being disrespectful to Bournemouth, I think it is a decent time to play them considering how weak the squad is. Still a very strong starting 11, in my opinion. The the concern is if it's not going well, or if say if we fall behind, there's not a lot of quality or experience to come off the bench and change that game. Notoriously struggle to break down teams that sit deep, and that's with a full squad as well. So hopefully it's not going to be that case, but you would think the 11 that Daryl's just named is good enough to take a lead and hold on to it. And like you said, coming up to the international break, it just gives that little extra sort of week to get the players that are sort of on that fringe of coming back a little bit more time to come back and get back into the squad. Like you say, it's probably a benefit that it is, again, no disrespect, Bournemouth fans, someone like Bournemouth, and it's not the likes of Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal.
Yeah, I think, Daryl, I think we always look at these previews and we normally say that the game's always won in midfield. With Bruno being missing, it's a huge blow. Luckily for us, it's only the one game ban for Bruno. Could have been more, but it is just the one game ban for Bruno. Longstaff has got a lot of minutes under his belt this season as well. It would probably be a great time to rest the likes of Longstaff as well going to these games, but we just don't have that luxury anymore. So you mentioned obviously Joe Willock coming into centre midfield there, which opens up that possibility where we see Willock and the likes of Joe Linton just chopping and changing left, right and centre, and one of them even dropping on the left-hand side if needs be. And personally, that's something which I love seeing from the lads as well. We see it on the right-hand side, but even more so on the left-hand side. And it's great to have Willock back as an option for Eddie Howe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gave us so much success last season when Joe Linton and Joe Willock were able to swap around between midfield and left wing. It caused teams all sorts of problems as well because they didn't know which one of them to track when they made a forward run. And yeah, absolutely right about Sean Longstaff as well. The lad is running like a machine at the moment, and the one thing that worries me going into this game is going to be fatigue. And there's a lot of players who are going to be really close to that red line of fatigue where it becomes a problem where they'll either pick up an injury because of the fact that they're tired and they've been running on, they've been exercising all those muscles in the last few weeks, every 2 to 3 days with all the games that we've had to play. So a lot of the lads will be close to that red line for potentially picking up an injury simply by the amount of games played. And like Ian also mentioned, and like you have also mentioned, that the depth on the bench isn't necessarily packed full of experience, but I suppose the benefit of that is it's also packed full of young players who will be eager to make an impact or at least be able to run around the pitch and sort of be able to what's the word? I suppose they're able to affect Eddie Howe's pressing style of play on a team like Bournemouth, and we're going to get graft out of them no matter what because of the ethos that Eddie's installed in the team.
Yeah, no, 100%. I want to focus up top as well here, Ian, because obviously it is a massive doubt. I just want to highlight this. This is being recorded prior to Eddie Howe's press conference. So we don't know 100% if Callum Wilson is going to be making it. But I think Eddie Howe probably wouldn't give that away in his conference either way anyway. Let's say worst case scenario, Ian, that Wilson is injured. Obviously, Isaac is confirmed as injured as well. What then? Do we go back with Gordon up top, which it has worked at times this season, but tried it again later on against Bournemouth and it just didn't click. It just didn't work. What happens?
We'll be looking to call you up from your pro clubs. No, I think, to be honest, I think Gordon against Dortmund, I still thought he's making runs, but you could tell he was tired. I think Eddie Howe touched on it after the game that game probably came one day too soon. It's a little bit of a benefit that we played on Tuesday as opposed to Wednesday, so we've had that extra day and it's a later kickoff. I know you're talking matter of hours here, but every half hour is gonna help in terms of recovery. But I think Gordon will be enough to, if Wilson's not fit, I think you'll do just for that one game before the international break, you'll have enough in him to last 90 minutes or whatever. And although he's not a natural striker, obviously he did play there in the Euros, had a really good competition. I think he won player of the tournament in the Euros. Just watching his movement against Man U, who their defence was still experienced, still some decent players in their defence. His movement to take players out of the game to then open up other areas of the pitch, I thought was really, really intelligent. I thought it might have been potential physical and mental fatigue as to why that didn't work against Dortmund. But let's be honest, Dortmund are superbly drilled. So they would have probably been wise to that anyway. Again, I've said this about 4 times now. No disrespect to Dortmund on Bournemouth. No, hold on. Bournemouth on Dortmund.
Either
So
way,
you would expect, you would expect them to be able to do enough of a job to just, even if it's to open up the spaces for the wide players to then run into, as opposed to sort of him coming in or like being a poacher like what Wilson has been. You do lose that physical side of the game though, which obviously Wilson's built like a brick shit house. Gordon's nowhere near that stature, so you do lose that little bit of physicality from that. But like I say, he's good enough to do a job just for that one game.
I'm going to stay with you, Ian, because you've been looking over the likes of Bournemouth's record at home this season, and it hasn't been great.
No, it's I think they've played 6, have won 1, which was last time out against Burnley. They come from behind in that game. They've had draws against Chelsea and West Ham. I think West Ham was the first game of the season. So the first game of the season you can never really take much from anyway. And then losses against Wolves, or they were down to 10 men in that game. Arsenal and Spurs. I was looking at sort of the goals that they were conceding as well. There was one against Wolves where they basically played into their own downfall. I think the keeper played it short. Wolves were still fairly high up from an attack. It was from a goal kick, and they pressed them quite high and forced a mistake. Arsenal, I think, had a couple of penalties, and I think scored from a corner. And I think even the Burnley one, it got recycled from a corner. So although they're not great at home, they have stayed in games, so they came from behind against Burnley. As I say, they were leading against Wolves, so that is still a concern. With our back 5, though, I think Pope's kept 4 clean sheets in a row now, possibly 5. So you would expect to, even though that we've got such a depleted squad, you would expect to go down there and still be able to cause them problems, especially with how high we press and how intense we press as well. The only, like I say, in terms of set pieces, we're not great from them at the minute in terms of attacking, but there's definitely areas that we can exploit and hopefully
try new things as well. The last few games you've seen that they have been working on new not formations, but new tactics when it comes to set pieces, especially corners. We're seeing a great one against Dortmund just a couple of nights ago where there's a back heel from Hall, I think it is, that brings Trippier in, and Trippier smashes it, and Wilson is that far away from it. Could have been a completely different story, but we've already done the match reaction to that one. Daryl, Bournemouth are on the back of a heavy defeat, though. We can't deny that, a very heavy defeat, and I know it is against Manchester City. Of course, it is a full-strength Manchester City, so it's going to be different for our depleted squad to go to Bournemouth. But the conceded goals, and in true Newcastle United form, we can score them and across the field as well. So despite all these injuries, we are still dangerous.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about everybody, as the list that you reeled up earlier on about who's missing, who could potentially missing on top of that, we are still one of the best scorers in the league this season. You only have to look as far back as the Sheffield United game, where we had 8 different goal scorers in that 8-0 win. So we are capable of scoring from anywhere across the pitch. I think we may well target working on our set pieces in what little training and tactical work that we'll do this week, just to take advantage of Bournemouth's weaknesses. And it wouldn't surprise me, just a little early warm-up for the predictions that we'll come to later, that we might see a goal from maybe a centre-half coming in from a corner. The lads are capable of getting themselves in really good positions when they go forward. You just have to look at Sean Longstaff as an example, when he bursts through from midfield and he finds himself in that sort of inside right channel in the box. And we are quite potent when it comes to scoring goals. And like you say, Bournemouth have got that weakness, and I think if we can get everything right, we'll certainly be able to exploit it.
Mm. You know that Eddie Howe's going to be fully prepped for this one, Ian, just like yours is for every game. Obviously, he realised the concerns which everybody has with the, not necessarily the squad size, because I think the lads have shown that they are very good, especially those ones that are called upon from coming from the bench and wherever it may be. But having said that, it's frustrating for him because you would go into this game with a fully fit squad thinking we could do some damage. We've done it to so many teams so far this season, and we'll do it further on the season. Do you think that it'll be all guns blazing, just Eddie Howe knowing that this international break is coming up, and obviously we will have some players back from that, and they get a much needed rest on the back of that. Do you think we'll go for it, or do you think it'll be a more contained approach?
I think it'll be contained and cautious. Sorry to jump in on you, mate. Sorry.
He's had a name
Go on,
change.
Ian.
He's now Daryl and Iain.
Sorry, lads. Go on.
Yeah, so I think given how Bournemouth will probably set up, it'll be a little bit more contained in terms of they'll sit back and it'll not be as gung ho. We'll have to work to try and break them down. There will be moments in the game where he utilises what we do so well in that high press, and especially if there's a counter attack, we've still got the likes of Miggy and Gordon with the pace to drive up the field. That being said, I don't think you'll change it too much. He's very meticulous in how he approaches each game. He doesn't approach each game with a one-size-fits-all approach. He'll do his research on Bournemouth. He'll know exactly how to exploit their weaknesses, what to watch out for in terms of their strength. But given that there is that one sort of last game before the international break, why not just go at them? Try and blow them away early. Like I say, they conceded 4 against Arsenal. They've conceded 2 against Spurs, 2 against Wolves. So, like you said, they do, and obviously in the away game, 6 against City. So there's goals there to be got. It's just obviously how and when we sort of go for the killer blows. But Eddie Howe's a Premier League manager. I'm sitting on a Thursday evening on a podcast.
Where else would you want to be? Where else would you want to be? Coming over to you, Daryl. If we just look at the last 5 games head-to-head between Newcastle and Bournemouth, it goes in Newcastle's favour. Newcastle have won 3, drawn 2. Obviously, the last draw coming the last time we met Bournemouth down at their place as well. So let's just go with your match prediction, mate. So you've highlighted earlier on what we're going for.
Yeah. So, just to highlight there, that we have got a fairly decent record against Bournemouth in recent games. The last time we met was a 1-1 draw, funnily enough, on a Saturday night at 5:30. So it'll be interesting, and I just think, given everything that we've been through and the fatigue that could be facing the lads after all these games, I think it could be another 1-1 draw. Certainly a draw altogether, but it could be. It's certainly going to have goals in it, but I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
No worries. Ian's back.
No idea
to the
what
audio. Wouldn't have realised Ian disappeared. For those watching the video, you can see we had a bit of a disco light and layout show going on while you were away. But yeah, Ian's back. We were just going through the Daryl's match prediction, and luckily for you, you don't know what he said. So free reign for you, mate.
Yeah.
You know what it is? That, like, my Wi-Fi has been absolutely spot on since I moved it to that table and out of the bread bin that was in the nuclear bunker. That's the first issue I've ever had with it. Apologies, viewers and listeners. I reckon if we had went in with a full squad, it could have been anything. Given the limitations that we have and how knackered they'll be, I still think we've got enough to win. I still think there's goals to be got. With defensive backline, yes, we conceded 2 in midweek, but they've been very, very solid on the whole. So I'm going to go for a clean sheet, and I'm going to go 2-0 win. I think Gordon will possibly net, and I'm going to go with, I think Miggy will score. So that's, 2-0.
I'm going to be a little bit more reserved. and I think it'll be I don't think it'll be an enjoyable game. I just don't think it will. And that's not enjoyable as a result wise, but I think for a neutral, I don't think it'll be a great one to watch, unfortunately. But I'm gonna go for a hard fought Newcastle United 3 points with a 1-0 away win. I'm going with that. I'm not even going to put a goal score on it because without a striker, it could be absolutely anybody that nicks that. It really could be. Any final thoughts from you two?
Yeah, I'll jump in. When I thought my name was Ian earlier, and I said it was going to be containing cautious. I think when I say containing cautious, I think Eddie will probably try and plan the game out so that we'll go full blast at them, but only in short bursts throughout the game. So the likes of start, first 10, 15 minutes, we'll be full gung ho, we'll be fully on the high press, trying to get on them and get a couple of early chances, maybe even get the early goal. And then I think once that happens, you'll probably want to sit back just to try and preserve the energy and the fitness levels of the lads that are on that pitch. And then you might see either towards the end of the first half or the start of the second half, it'll be the same sort of thing again. Quick period of high pressing, lots of pressure. And then again, another case of just trying to dominate the ball, try and keep possession and just pass it around and make Bournemouth work and tire themselves out trying to chase us. I think the loss of Bruno, and I said it last week that I thought I wasn't that worried about us missing Bruno for this game. However, we know how much he brings to our midfield, and it's a bit of a concern that he won't be there. I mean, don't get us wrong. I'm quite happy with the fact that it could be Longstaff, Joe Linton, Joe Willock in the field. However, you miss that stability that Bruno brings in, and he has that eye for a killer pass up into the forward positions as well, and we're going to miss that. So it will be, I think, like you said, Kris, it is going to be a hard watch because we won't have that level of quality in terms of how we play forward. But again, it should be okay, and we should be able to get a result out of it.
Anything from Ian?
I'm just glad that there's only two. So just quickly on the Callum Wilson thing, he's being called up to England, which suggests to me that he should be okay. Obviously, that's me putting 2 and 2 together. I could possibly get that. Could be 5, could be 1 million. But like, I'm glad that, although I think it's deserved that Gordon should get a call up, I'm glad that we're performing players like Gordon, like Longstaff, haven't been. Just because if we have any more injuries, honestly, it'll be us 3. That'll be across the middle of the park against Chelsea after the international break. And God knows that's a recipe for disaster. But yeah, I think Gordon's time will come in terms of a senior call-up. I think he's been absolutely brilliant this season. I just hope he kicks on, and because of the job that he's having to do, it's not going to fatigue him even more to the point where he starts dropping his performances. But I think he said himself, sort of coming in last season, he probably wasn't ready to be an Eddie Howe player coming from where he had been. So yeah, I've got he's turned my head because I was on the fence about him when he first came in, and he's been absolutely fantastic. So I'm hoping he has another good game and hopefully gets another goal. And then next time, maybe he's get a call up when everyone else is back and we can afford that.
Like you said, Ian, I think it's coming. It is. Of course, it's coming. He's working his way through the ranks when it comes to the England setup anyway. So, obviously, the performance this season, Southgate would be an absolute fool to look beyond Gordon and what he brings to Newcastle United, how well he's done for the club and in the Premier League as well. He'll be up there one of the players of the season so far, with obviously still plenty left to go as well. Thanks, boys, for joining me this evening. And thanks, everybody who has been watching this one as well. If you do want to like the video, it means a lot to us. If you want to become a subscriber, it costs you absolutely nothing to do that. If you want to give an extra bit back, it is just $2.99 a month to become a member. You get early access to videos, you get extra videos, you get access to the Telegram group, the Discord gaming channel, and much more. If you're listening to the audio, whatever platform that's on, just give us a 5-star review and drop a little comment in there as well. Helps us out massively. Thanks, boys. See you next time. Ta-ra.
Bye.